Recording.
How goes the family? Welcome back to Patterson Properties. Hopefully, you guys having a great and exceptional day. Don't forget Patterson Properties. We wholesale properties via tax liens, tax sales, and we do the affiliate marketing and whatnot, all that great stuff like your normal wholesalers do. So contact us. Our website is in the information is within the description of this broadcast. And of course, if you're a stock market investor, crypto investor, individual retirement account investor, don't forget to sign up with WEBULL, Stash, Acorns, Coinbase, Crypto.com. All those links in the description. Sign up with them and you make some money from $5 to up to $500 worth of free stocks. All right. Okay. Now we are talking about the good old city of Atlanta. I had a beautiful pleasure of going to Atlanta last May, had a great time. It was a great experience, and I'll definitely leave it at that. And I can't wait to go back there. If you never heard of EWOW University and you're an investor, you definitely want to go to an event like Invest Fest that happened last weekend. And I was able to check it out via Zoom virtually, but I definitely physically next year want to be there, and I'm looking forward to that. All right. So cities all over the United States of America have been trying to get a regulatory handle on the Airbnb business since the company's inception, especially given the fact that whole communities have been turned into Airbnb hubs, with certain communities are not happy about this at all. I remember the first time I heard about this was hearing about it in Miami, Florida, where most homes and apartments, not even just homes, but apartments along Miami Beach were turning into short-term Airbnb rentals. And the city had to kind of get a handle on it because, a lot of those neighborhoods were becoming more and more ghost towns and whatnot. And that, in a sense, it was a win-win for the community, but in a sense, it wasn't. It's like I told a buddy of mine, in a capitalist society, whether you like it or not, there's always going to be winners and losers. There's always going to be somebody that's unhappy. That is what it is. What it is. I think more and more people can be winners, especially from a working standpoint, if they learn to collaborate with more and more people and get rid of this 1985. I'm just going to do it by myself thing because nobody really does it by themselves. Opportunity is given to people all the time on a regular basis, regardless of how many degrees you have, regardless of how much money you have. You still got to build relationships with people. Even millionaires and billionaires have to build relationships with people. I'm an introvert. And I'm not big on building relationships with people, but I know how to do that, especially in real estate. You got to build relationships with people. It is what it is. According to the article that I read today, about 4,000 short-term rentals could soon no longer be allowed to operate in the city of Atlanta, Georgia, because of a new ordinance cracking down on who's able to rent out their home. The Atlanta City Council extended the compliance deadline from June 1st, which is already passed because we're in the beginning of August, to September 6th, so it's next month. And it's September 9th today. Let me double check, 9th or the 10th. So it's October 10th. October, Lord have mercy. It's August 10th today, so it's less than a month from the deadline. So I'm going to see where this is going, and when the actual ordinance is fully implemented, I'm going to make another video about this again next month, unless they decide to extend it again until the new year, which I have a funny feeling they might do that because this is causing, this is going to affect a lot of business. A lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs because of Airbnbs. I remember one young lady, she she has not only created a Airbnb, and I saw her on EYL University. This was during the pandemic. She, because Georgia did, like a lot of states in the South, did not stay closed that long during the pandemic. But she owned up to, I think, almost 80 different Airbnbs and whatnot. And I learned from her video on EYL University that she, because the thing is, I didn't think about it because she really explained it. She's like, well, here's the thing: there's a limit to how many mortgages you can get, but there's no real limit to how many places you can rent out. I'm like, and this is why the Airbnb business is such a sound model. If you're, upfront with the person you're renting from, or the company that you're renting from, saying, "Hey, I want to utilize this as an Airbnb," and because she had so many, she's like, "I have references to show that I'm a credible person to do this with because I have this I want the lease to be in my business name, and here's my history. I have great credit. I have great rental history. I have great rental insurance. So, in the terms of each different lease." May be different, they're not all the same, but that's just how it is, regardless of how you rent a place out, from commercial to residential. But the thing is, she was able to build her business. And then because she had so many Airbnbs, she got tired of paying cleaning companies to actually have to clean her Airbnbs after every single time that a customer would leave. She actually ended up creating a cleaning company. and whatnot to clean out her Airbnbs and to clean out other contracts. And this is a person who used to just be a waitress at the Waffle House, I believe. So Airbnb has helped create a lot of entrepreneurs, okay? Because owning real estate for the most part is not a lot of people's forte, but having a lot of rental properties, places where they rent out and whatnot, but renting it out as an Airbnb space, this is a beautiful thing. So I'm definitely against the whole registering your business with the city. I'm for it, but I'm definitely against anything that's going to stop people in regards to becoming entrepreneurs and whatnot. So that's where I'm dead set against, because we need more people that are business minded in today's world and in tomorrow's world, regardless of who's in the White House, governor's house, and who's in the mayor's house. All right. Okay. I had to go on my tangent. But anyways, especially given the fact that when new government, and remember, this thing has happened because there's been complaints about the new rules and the rules are going to be hashed out. Especially given the fact that when new government ordinances, no matter what state they come out in, come to fruition, there's always going to be headaches, and especially when it involves small mom and pop self-employed contractor businesses. The article also stated that under the ordinance, people can only own 2 Airbnbs or short-term rental units, and one must be their primary residence. And I think that's nonsense, because what is the purpose? The purpose of most Airbnbs for people and whatnot is they're trying to become not necessarily rich, but a lot of people, majority of the people are trying to either get additional income or they're trying to replace their income. You can't really replace your income on 1 to 2 Airbnbs. That's just nonsense. So I hope this measure's passed down. I mean, it doesn't even move forward and whatnot, because to me, you're killing business with this regulation, this ordinance. You're going to kill business. It is what it is. And Atlanta is a fun city. It's an entrepreneurial city, especially in the African American community. And I'm dead set against this. And I don't even live there, but I think this is wrong. But anyways, it says you must be a resident of Atlanta and have to pay $150 annually for a permit. Now, the permit thing, I'm for. The residential thing, I'm dead against, but I'll leave that alone. And pay an 8% tax rental fee. I'm fine with the tax and whatnot, but I'm dead set against you have to live in the city. I just think this is nonsense. The ordinance also cracks down on noise party violations, increasing penalties to several $1,000s. Now, the party violations, I understand that, because majority of the Airbnbs I've ever been to, the rules and regulations always say no parties and no guests. Like, nobody's allowed in that place unless, or you can only have 1 to 2 people that's allowed to come in there and whatnot, but you're not supposed to have any parties, period. And I'm all for that, because I get it. You're in a residential neighborhood and people live there. So like I said, there's certain things of the measure I agree with, certain things on this measure I totally disagree with, and I'll leave it at that. But bear in mind, Atlanta, Georgia is a fun party city, and this reminds me of when New Orleans, Louisiana cracked down on live bands shortly after Hurricane Katrina playing in the streets in the city, and the city government placed overpriced street permits for parades and vendors and music artists in order to strengthen their budgets and cut out street music performances. And I thought this was, and I thought that was outrageous, because the problem is these certain times these ordinances kill. If you want to live in a quiet neighborhood, do not live in a major city. I'm just going to put it like that. If it's Atlanta, New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, if you really want to live in a quiet neighborhood, the best 2 things is to live in a suburban neighborhood, 1, or 2, go live in a rural community. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you live in a major city, expect noise, expect things to happen. I'm not saying it's supposed to be parties every single night, because people got to get up and go to work in the morning and whatnot. But especially when you live in a city like Atlanta and New Orleans and Las Vegas and whatnot, these are party cities. These are cities where people go to have a good time. They visit these places to have a good time. If you want to live in a boring city, don't live in those cities. There's plenty of basic cities around the United States of America where it's very quiet and whatnot. If you want to live in a city, go live in Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Missouri, or St. Louis. Live in Detroit. Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati. There's plenty of smaller cities. Heck, Salt Lake City, Utah. Doesn't get more boring than that. If you want to live in the most boring state in the country, go live in Wyoming. Nothing wrong with that. It's one of the most rural states in America. Like I said, I'm not mad at people that want the small town life. Go live in a small town. I'm not mad at people that don't want to go live in a quiet neighborhood. Go find a quiet neighborhood, but that's just my 2 cents on that. But anyways, Kathy McClure hosts 2 short-term rentals in the same Midtown duplex. But because she doesn't live there full time, and as far as in Atlanta, she'd be in violation of the new rules. She stated, we live nearby. The duplex is not our primary residence. She said, I am a good example of how extreme some of the interpretations are that the city has adopted. There are currently an estimated 7,465 Airbnbs and VRBO properties in Atlanta, Georgia. An Airbnb spokesperson told that hosts in Atlanta collectively earn nearly $139 million in 2021. $139 million was earned via Airbnb in 2021, last year, with hosts serving as a source of income for more than 9,500 hosts across the metropolitan area. In a city where most people that live cannot afford to even live in this city anymore, in Metro Atlanta anymore. They said it's, the Federal Reserve has claimed this. I'm not making this stuff up. As reported, 54% of short-term rental owners in Atlanta have more than 2 listings, putting them in violation under the new rules. This is how I make a living, one person said, and support my family, Richard Monroe stated, president of the newly formed Atlanta Metro Short-Term Rental Alliance. The reality is it's going to be a loss of jobs at stake. I agree. The local economy is going to be impacted. I agree. Because one thing, and before I even go into my spill, the one thing is, regardless if you have a short-term rental or long-term rental properties make money not only for the people who own the rental property or the short-term rental, but it makes money for the cleaning companies and for the maintenance companies that have to service those, because eventually the place has to be clean. And when the people don't live there, majority of the time, they're not going to do it themselves. They're going to hire a cleaning company. That's impacting small businesses. 2, then you have the people who are the maintenance people, stuff breaks down. So you have to deal with that. I remember I was at an Airbnb and an electrical issue happened, and 30 minutes later, the Airbnb owner, because this was actually a duplex home, one of the homes was rented and the other part of the home was Airbnb. The maintenance guy showed up 30 minutes later. So that was money for him. Okay. And then another thing to take into consideration is that you have less people visiting the city because of Airbnb. There will be less Airbnbs. Therefore, and I think, and this is just my opinion, I'm not saying this is true, but you know how politics work. I think that the hotels have probably lobbied and paid off certain people on the city council, possibly the mayor in Atlanta, Georgia, if they pass this measure, because they're losing business. Because 9 times out of 10, when I visit a place, I'm going to utilize Airbnb because I like to stay in the community. The best thing about first time I utilized Airbnb was 2016 in Riverside, California, when I was thinking about moving there. And I was like, oh man, this is beautiful. I got to really get a gist of the community by staying in one of the neighborhoods. When you're in a hotel, it's different. You're in a building. 9 times out of 10, you're not surrounded by a residential neighborhood. You're away from all that. You're surrounded by either shopping centers or other hotels, or maybe other office buildings or industrial buildings and things of that nature. You're not really in the community. So that's the beautiful thing about Airbnbs. They've helped people that want to move to other parts of the country and whatnot, even parts of the world sometimes, be able to see what it's really like to live in the community. And that's why, another reason why I don't, like I said, this doesn't affect my life, but this is another reason why I'm against this measure, because I think it's going to have an impact on the economy, and that it could have an impact on the tourism industry all at the same time, because a lot of times when hotels get overbooked, you don't have any place to stay, especially when you're trying to stay, because my Airbnb was it was about 10 minutes away from the airport. So 9 times out of 10, when I go someplace, I want to be near the airport, because you got to get to the airport on time, and the less traffic you got to deal with, the better. In every major city, especially Atlanta, the traffic is horrific, and you want to be close to the airport as possible. So I leave it at that. All right. And I couldn't agree with the statement by Mr. Richard Monroe talking about it's going to be a loss of the economy, because we live in a more of a global economy than ever before because of technology. So with that being said, I find it ridiculous that one has to live within the city limits to operate an Airbnb business. I live in Virginia and buy rental properties in Pennsylvania. If states or cities pass laws that wouldn't allow for out-of-state investors to purchase homes, then that would be a huge economic detriment to those economies, especially if America didn't even allow foreign investors to come to the United States of America to purchase properties. That would be a detriment to the U.S. economy all at the same time. And the thing is, when foreign buyers, if they're not legal residents or citizens, then they usually have to come with all cash in hand. They can't qualify for a loan. All right. But they still do it. And that helps the economy, it helps them. And then obviously it helps the bank, it helps the taxes, it helps insurance companies. Therefore, it's the quote unquote trickle down theory. And then when maintenance issues happens to the properties, then when maintenance issues happen to the property, then they got to contact the maintenance person. So it's all about the economics. The article ended on this note. The risk that the city is taking with the overly complicated process is that they will have a large number of so-called illegal units. So now this was stated. The city is setting itself up for failure. Between now and September deadline, Mr. Monroe says his organization hopes to work with the city council to negotiate the ordinance terms. The middle ground for us would basically allow for a lot of our members that are currently operating short-term rentals to be able to continue to do so by having kind of a legacy option, he said. I think that's a reasonable common ground. In a statement, the city planning commissioner, Junaid Sidifal, stated, in response to the residents' requests and concerns, the Department of City Planning administratively extended the enforcement of the short-term rental ordinance to September 6, 2022. We want to be responsive to our residents as we heard concerns from them, from the short-term owners on the licensing process. Additionally, with the rapid growth of the short-term rental industry in the city, we also want to be accountable and protective of all communities and neighborhoods as detailed in Atlanta City Design. We want to help facilitate a thoughtful yet profitable short-term rental industry in the city of Atlanta. Well, city of Atlanta, it can't be too profitable if you only allow people to have two. I know a lot of people can make money off of one Airbnb and whatnot, but my mindset is, okay, cut it off at 6. I think 6 is reasonable. Okay, I think 6 is reasonable. I mean, I think that's a reasonable number because you have a lot of people that want to they get into an industry because they want to be able to replace their freaking jobs. You know, we live in the time of where we live in the time of entrepreneurs and investors increasing on a regular basis. People want to be able to become owners and want to be able to live a lifestyle more on their terms now and not their employer's terms. And I can agree with that statement more. You know, that's the new wave, and I'm all for it. I'm just trying to look up here. Can one make with an Airbnb with Airbnb? There it is. So just trying to look for a quick number. So Airbnb hosts can make an average of $924 a month, according to the research from low interest lender Earnest. Of course, that income can vary dramatically depending on where you are based, how frequently you rent out your place, the quality of your home, and services you provide. And this was as of 2019. So that's one place. So when we do the math, that's $924. Okay, so let's do the math real quick. I think this is probably one of my longest videos I made for this channel. So let's just say, since that's the standard number, $924. So 924 plus 924, that's $1,800 a month and whatnot. Now that's not a bad number, but there's really nowhere in America like that you can live anymore, unless you're like in a small town and the only thing you got to worry about is personal property. No, you know what? I'm not even gonna buy that. No, that's not enough. So let's go with that plus times 6, 924 times 6. Now we ended up with $5,544 a month. Now that's reasonable. That's why I just thought of the magic number 6, because I'm like, okay, if the average amount of money one makes making $924 per Airbnb, and if the cutoff limit is 6, then if you can make 5 G's and whatnot a month, I think that's pretty reasonable. And especially in a city like Atlanta, that's enough for one to sustain themselves. Plus, if they want to do other things, they can do it. So city of Atlanta, if you're watching, let's go with 6 to 7 and whatnot as far as the cutoff. Don't make it 2, because to me, and I know people can make more, that's just one number because the numbers vary from city to city, but I'm just saying, I think it's more reasonable because people they want to get into the short-term rental industry 9 times out of 10 is because they want to replace their job. Getting extra income is an incentive, but replacing your job is the biggest incentive in today's world, all right? But on that note, family, that's all I got for this. Greatly appreciate you watching. This was interesting subject matter, and I wanted to talk about this because I know a lot of people are planning to get into the industry. Do your research, regardless of what city you live in, do your homework and see if your city has any ordinances that are already on the book or future ordinances that might come down the pipeline or whatnot, because every city is different, every state is different, and it is what it is, all right? So on that note, do the great three things, like, share, and subscribe. Have a great night. As I always say, make money moves or you're gonna live broke like a fool. Take care.